Welcome to the Law, Your Money, and You. I'm Roberta, Saphire, an attorney in Massachusetts.
And I'm Camille, Barron, a financial coordinator also in Massachusetts. And Roberta, we get many emails from people who are parents of young or maybe high school age children. And of course, everybody's on the internet. And of course, there's some people out there who may not be so good. And there's other kids in the schools who might be intimidating and bullying kids. So we're going to talk about that today.
Yes, we have a great topic. Our topic today is cyberbullying, and we are so fortunate to have with us Victoria and Mark. And I'm not pronouncing your last name because I'm going to let you, because I'm afraid I'll say it wrong. But tell us your name and tell us a little bit about yourselves, how you got into this. This is very exciting.
Well, thank you so much for inviting us to be here today. I'm Victoria Kempf, is the last name. Really not
I was
so
going
hard.
to say that. I was going to say Kempf.
And I'm an RN. That's what I started out as, and now I'm an internet safety expert. And the more I've learned about the risks when kids go online, the more passionate I become about online safety. Kids do not raise themselves offline, and they should not be raising themselves online either. I firmly believe that the more parents know, the safer our kids will be.
And I'm Mark, I'm a software engineer, and more important than that, I'm a parent. When our children started to go on the internet, we saw that their personalities were actually starting to change. You know, it's a private clubhouse for kids, parents not wanted, and you don't know what's going on there. So we tried all kinds of different products to try to keep track of what our children were doing and control excessive use.
Well, wait a second now. You say your children. How many children do you have, and at what age were they when this started? I know you said you had 2 girls.
Right, we have 2 daughters, and at the time, our older daughter was entering high school. She's 21 now, and that was at the time Facebook was becoming prevalent among younger children. And Facebook actually, along with AIM, was a big source of difficulty with her. So, as I said, we tried to control excessive usage and keep track of what she was doing. And all of the existing products took an excessive amount of CPU time. They dragged down the computer, so it was practically unusable. They were hard for me to use. And they really didn't give us the information we needed. We would know, for example, that she was on AIM, but had no idea who she was talking with or about what. And you know, it's like back when we were kids, parents could overhear a little bit of telephone conversations.
Well, AIM is instant message, right?
That's correct. Okay. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No, that's okay.
That's Yahoo's. Yeah, it's one of the instant messengers.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. So one day, Victoria walked into the computer room, and click, 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 she heard windows closing. And a few minutes later, she said to me, "If only I could see what they were doing." And I said, "I could do that." and so I did, and developed some technology that gave us visibility in our computer screen of what was on our daughter's computer screen. And it was only for our use, and other people saw it and thought it was pretty neat, and that's where our product Screen Retriever came from. We decided to bring it to market.
Interesting. Okay.
It's a great product.
What's the name of the product again?
It's called Screen Retriever.
Screen Retriever.
Oh.
How does it work?
Well, it works in 2 different ways. One we call Live View, and that allows you to check in right now. So you can be sitting on your computer anywhere in your house,
Yes.
and you can see your child's computer screen on your screen.
Ah.
So, you know, it's important to keep in mind that the screen is the child's, it's actually everybody's primary interface to the computing device. So if you can see their screen, you can...
Yeah.
Is that like a remote, like remote administrator or remote? It's a remote type of...
It is, to a certain extent. The thing that's different about Screen Retriever is that it's really, really easy to use. You don't need to be a computer expert to use it. You know, you install it, and it just runs one click, and you're observing. And also, it's non-intrusive in terms of CPU use. The other mode is called, we call replay. And so if you're away from home, or your child is home while you're still at work, or they're up at 2 o'clock in the morning, which a lot of kids are, where you think they're asleep and they're online.
Or they take their computer to a friend's house.
Or they take their computer or their laptop to a friend's house. You can use it so you can see the recordings without going to their computer. You can see it on your computer. And because of a unique slider we have and the fact that people are very visual, you can literally review hours of their activity in minutes and only stop.
Fantastic.
Yeah, you only need to stop when you see something that concerns you.
Can you, like, if that computer is somewhere, like at a friend's house, can you trace where the computer is?
Well, that's something that's going to be coming in the future.
Oh.
Right now, that's not a part of the product set.
How about with all the kids now using their phones to access the internet or using their tablets? Is that something you're considering for a future phase?
Yeah, you're an absolutely great straight man.
Yeah, isn't she? She really is good.
You're asking
She asked the right questions.
You're asking
yeah.
all the right questions. One of the things that we're very interested in doing, and we're actually pursuing actively right now, is moving into the mobile market. Kids have gone mobile, and we want to go mobile with them.
You mean mobile, the phone? Mobile,
Yes.
the
So
phone?
tablets,
Oh,
smartphones. In fact, our slogan for the future is screen retriever everywhere.
Oh, I love it.
Including gaming consoles. Wherever a child, on whatever device the child is on, we want to be there too.
And what are some of the
Oh, I'm sorry.
what are some of the major threats like
Yeah, what happened?
if you notice some cyberbullying, what does it look like typically, and then what would your response be?
Well, I'm going to let Victoria answer that question, but I'm just going to interrupt you briefly because there's one more thing I want to tell you about screen retriever that's really important, and that is your child knows you're using it.
Oh,
You
they know.
There are products. How do they know?
No, they know.
Oh, they do know.
You know.
The reason-
So if you're a parent and you're thinking of doing this, you should tell your child that you're
Well,
going to do
not
it.
only should you tell them, but when you install screen retriever on their computer, there's an icon that appears down the bottom of their screen, and that simply won't go away. That's a matter of policy for us as a company. You know, we don't want to be associated with any kind of spying or anything like that. So that's really important. And from a product standpoint, and from the standpoint of the parents themselves and their children, it's being open and upfront about what you're doing is how you maintain trust.
Now, have you been approached by the FBI or the CIA or by the present administration or the future administration so that they can spy on their opponents?
No.
That could be.
I'd like to, Victoria, we'll get to the cyberbullying, but you're asking more technical questions. And
I'm just kidding.
And I'm
Yeah,
the geek, so I'm the geek, so I'll
But
try to
that's
answer those
interesting.
questions.
That's interesting. They do things like that, don't they?
Well, they do.
The NSA does. Yes.
The NSA does. And one of the things, the little phrase that we've coined is private family network. And we're hoping that maybe this phrase becomes big in the industry and we're recognized for coming up with a concept of private family network. But what this means is that, today, if the NSA goes to, say, Google.
What's NSA?
I'm sorry, National Security Agency. The
Okay.
people down in Fort Meade. So they go to Google and say, bad things are going to happen to you if you don't release information to us. We're going to put the screws to you. But then, as you've all read and all know about that, I mean, that's what happens. But in our case, the information stays within the confines of the family. Okay, and that's going to be true in the future too. We as a company don't have access to that information and won't have access to that information unless the parent gives us permission. And we'll talk about that a little later.
Now, if you have a family, the parents want to put it on the kid's computer, is part of your agreement that the child has to know, otherwise you won't do it, or does it matter, or what?
They do know because Screen Retriever tells them that it's on their computer. An icon actually changes color as well, from green to yellow when a parent's checking in.
Oh, okay. So how did you start it? Because this is really a big thing to do.
The whole goal is for parents to be able to teach their kids appropriate, responsible behavior. Many parents today, they still think of the offline world and online world as two separate entities. What's really important for parents to understand is that the online world and offline world are one and the same for kids today. And to fully parent, parents need to be engaged in both worlds. Parents are awesome every day, almost every minute of the day, being parents offline. They make sure their kids are wearing their helmets when they're riding their bikes. They make sure that when they're watching TV, that if they're watching a violent show, they're going to change the channel. If they're watching a Miley Cyrus twerking, I'm hoping they'll change the channel.
That's incredible. That's another
right?
topic.
Yeah.
Parents are parenting. If kids are playing in the backyard, mom takes a look out the kitchen window.
Right.
And if everything's fine, she goes about her work. It's not a 24/7 hovering helicopter parenting approach. It's checking in. And so if everything's fine, great. If not, if Susie's hitting Billy over the head with a stick, mom's going to go outside and take a closer look and then have a discussion with Susie about appropriate behavior. Parents know who their kids are hanging out with in the offline world because they know that peers have a tremendous influence on their children's behavior. So where our goal is that parents take those same wonderful skills that they've been using offline always to the online world. And they really need to start early, and the reason that is because they need to integrate this parenting style with kids early. Parents would never wait until their child is 13 to start parenting offline, right? That's ridiculous.
Right.
Silly concept. But that's what's happening in the online world. And then all of a sudden, 13, they decide, oh, I better start checking this out. Well, kids then give pushback because they've been allowed to be unsupervised for so long. So we really want to change that whole thought process of parents and just have parents start checking in so that the kids really integrate it, and then there's no surprise, and it's expected, and it's accepted behavior as well.
Now, you mentioned if Johnny's hitting Susie over the head with a stick or something, what would be the equivalent of that online?
Oh, good question.
Well, of course.
I think good. Yeah.
Well, I would say that would be cyberbullying.
Okay, so tell us
Yes.
about cyberbullying.
Well, cyberbullying, why don't I describe it first?
Sure.
It's really taken what was traditionally known as playground bullying, and that is expanded now to the online world, to cyberspace. And cyberbullying is when a child, teen, or tween is threatened, harassed, embarrassed, humiliated, or otherwise targeted by another child, teen, or tween using computer devices. And it can start as early as 4th grade. It's amazing. According to the Justice Department's Health and Human Services, they say that half of kids have been cyberbullied.
Do you know I never heard that expression before you?
Really?
Yeah, I haven't heard of it, cyberbullying.
Oh, and it's a huge problem.
Because
It's growing.
bullying has just
Right.
been recognized over the past, I don't even know if year, where now schools are doing something about it, neighborhoods are doing something about it. But this is new.
huge-
This is
There's
Huge
even been
problem.
suicides.
Right.
There's been
Yeah.
children who've committed
Right.
suicide because of
Right,
cyberbullying.
I'll talk
Yeah.
about that in a second. There's, actually the numbers are even growing. There was a study that just came out yesterday that says that 69% of kids are actually being bullied, and 20% of those are being extremely cyberbullied, which
Oh, that's terrible,
which
huh?
is horrendous because it's really affecting their self-esteem, is plummeting, and their optimism for life. I kind of call it the silent killer of spirit. And,
Wow.
and I think it's a really
it's just
underestimated problem.
have some
today.
Can you
Great
give us a
expressions.
couple of examples of what cyberbullying
Yeah.
would look like?
Well, for
typically?
example, you were talking about this unfortunate, very sad, and tragic event of Rebecca Sedgwick, and this is a 12-year-old girl that recently committed suicide.
I think I read about that.
From Florida. She was really terrorized and cyberbullied by 15 girls for over a year, and then committed suicide. And what that says to me is that means there were 15 sets of parents that had no clue how their kids were behaving, because you can be sure that if they had known, they would have put a stop to it.
And how,
Right?
how would they do that? How
And
would
that's
these
why
15
they need
girls
to monitor.
How would these 15 girls, what mechanism, what would they use to do the...
How does a cyberbully?
Yes.
Oh, their creativity is limitless when it comes to cyberbullies. They may forward, a private message. They may upload, an embarrassing photoshopped image.
Oh, my goodness.
So they take a picture and then they change
They
it.
Right.
doctor it up.
They may.
Oh, isn't that terrible?
Terrible. Oh,
New
yes.
New inventions, new ways.
Right,
And
exactly.
the girl didn't tell her mother or anybody?
this particular girl,
Yeah.
Rebecca, she did. In fact, her mother really tried to do as much as she could. Unfortunately, she actually pulled her out of school. But cyberbullying, as we'll talk about, some of the differences. It can be 24/7. It kind of follows you wherever you go. And even though, she'd been pulled out of school, it continued. The cyberbullying continued.
Yeah.
And that can be a real problem. Plus, at the time, which is one of the reasons our goal is to go mobile, parents need transparency into their children's apps. So even though the mom was looking at her daughter's phone and the contents of the phone, she couldn't see the app messages like Kick Messenger is one, or Voxer, which are messenger applications. And so it's really important for parents to be able to see all of those apps. There is even an app called Hidden Text, so that to hide the text from
Really?
parents.
Wow.
Oh, there are all kinds of things.
Wow.
It's pretty amazing.
Oh my goodness.
Good stories. It's
pretty
even
amazing.
sad. You've got to be kidding.
Yeah, it
Not
really
even-
is.
and
Oh, it's
not
horrible.
funny. What
heart
happened
goes out
if
to
you
the
want to
family.
relate with your daughters? Was there an instance of cyberbullying with them?
Actually, for us, there was. In 2010, we are skipping around, but that's certainly fine here. In 2010, the law was enacted in Massachusetts to prevent cyberbullying and also prevent
Really?
retaliation.
Oh.
And it's actually throughout the country, many states are enacting cyberbullying laws, which
Yeah,
is
look
great.
it up.
They mostly relate to schools, school events, and also the devices that schools use. But schools are required, if they become aware of cyberbullying, to then tell authorities, to tell the police that something is done. So it just so happened in 2010, when our daughter was cyberbullied, she knew that we'd been monitoring. We've always been very upfront about that. And so we copied the incident, saved it, which we can do with our product, and she wanted us. She actually asked us to bring it into the school,
Oh, so you
which
did.
we did,
You know,
which was in. Oh, go ahead.
It was really interesting because I think a lot of times children don't know how to approach their parents, when they're being bullied, whether it's online or offline. And our daughter actually came to us and said, I need help. Can you please take the information that I know you have and take it into the school?
Really?
Well, that
Yeah.
shows trust, but also I would think some of the kids would be afraid not to do it because then the kids will wait for them after school
There's definitely that component. That's one of the
Roberta.
reasons that kids will not speak up about cyberbullying, is because they're afraid of making it worse.
Yeah.
They think they can handle it on their own. Only 10% will actually tell a trusted adult or parent.
Really, 10%.
Right, only 10%. And they're also afraid that parents will overreact and take their computer privileges away.
Oh.
And the online
and
world
blame
is
them.
a huge
Well,
part of their lives today, so that's probably not the best approach.
You were met by a good school administrator.
Oh, well, guess what?
Because-
No, they didn't want to deal with it.
Oh, see,
Really?
'cause
Oh, no.
that's
Yeah.
the next thing.
But,
Yeah.
but the thing that was interesting for us is the law, this was in 2010, and schools, I think, rightly, or at least justifiably, often don't want to deal with bullying because it's he said, she said.
Yeah.
Yes.
And when we came in with the hard evidence, it's right here, and the law passed, and you have to deal with this. They did. And, so often parents think, well, my kid couldn't
Not
do it.
my
Well,
kid.
Not my kids.
Not my kid.
It's called the not my child syndrome.
The not my
Yeah.
child syndrome.
Right,
What happened
there's a
in this
lot
par-
of them out there.
Right. And in this particular case, it put a stop to it right there because, look, no, your child did. And when it was shown your child did, other parents, they weren't too happy about it.
Sure.
And fixed things pretty quick.
Oh, well, that's good. But then you have the parents who say, well, yeah, it was my kid, but your kid asked them to do it.
They provoked them, or it was their fault, right?
You heard- Have you had like nice stories? Have you had good stories that you can tell us and bad stories that you can tell us where it did work or it would have worked, but different stories where
We've actually
where
had very positive stories. We actually had one mom that contacted us because her daughter actually was posting comments online about potentially harming herself. And so she was able to intervene and get this daughter some help, the help that she needed. So that was, we thought that was huge.
Do you work with different agencies, or, I mean, I can see that coming, if you don't already, coming in the future, to work with agencies that are into stuff like that, maybe related or even
Family
unrelated.
services type agencies.
Yeah, we
family
really
service.
haven't done that, but that's certainly a great idea.
Yeah.
But Victoria does reach out to schools. A lot.
Oh, I
At
reach out,
schools,
right.
you know,
Excuse me?
she speaks at schools
Right, I love
and
speaking
civic
to parents.
groups and what have you. So we do try to get the message out there.
Right.
Oh, that's wonderful.
I love educating parents.
That's wonderful. Do you ever have, when you speak to the audience, who say, well, I can't believe this, or yes, that happened, and...
Oh, they're usually rather shocked by some of the statistics and what's going on out there. It is amazing. For example, you know, when we ask, well, are parents worried about what their kids are doing online, right? They are worried. They're worried about what sites their kids are visiting. They worry about who their kids are chatting with. They worry about cyberbullying and online predators. They worry about what their kids are posting and who they're friending. They worry about if what their child is doing now may impact their college acceptance, perhaps,
Right.
or employment down the road. And what's amazing is that colleges and scholarship providers and even athletic directors are all now checking the internet
something.
prior to acceptance of a candidate. Not only that, they're hiring companies to do it for them. So it's really important for parents to be really being proactive about paying attention to the image that their child is presenting.
Yeah.
Online.
Now, I know years ago when it first came out, there would be, like, the child predators, they would be pretending they were so much of an age, and this one's pretending there, and then, you know, and that's the end of their kid. When it
It's still
turns out.
happening. There was
Isn't
just a
that
story
something?
recently. Parents need to know who their kids are friending and who they're chatting with online. There are video chat sites. There's one that actually called Omegle that invites kids to talk to strangers on their homepage. So parents need to be aware of these sites and be proactively paying attention, again, to who they're video chatting with. If it's somebody they know, great. If it's somebody they don't know, you want to have a talk with their child. You know, the ongoing communication is really key with all of this. What you say to a second grader is going to be different from what you say to a 14-year-old, but that communication needs to be ongoing. And kids need to really parents need to go over a code of conduct with their children about expected behavior online. And children need to be told, and it needs to be required, that they have the same standards of behavior online that they use offline.
Yes, that's very interesting.
And I bet a lot of it depends on the quality of parenting that the child has in the first place. And you're going to have some parents who are very conscientious, and they've always been very involved. Like you said before, Victoria, they've been offline very good at it. Now it's just a matter of training them to be the same online. And then, unfortunately, there's others who, for whatever reason, they're not really paying close attention anyway to what their children are doing. Have you run across situations like that where it just doesn't seem like they're receptive to it?
No, I actually believe that most parents really want to be good parents. That is my view. You know, I think the digital world has turned parenting on its head, there's no doubt. It's very hard because of many parents are overwhelmed by the technology. They're overwhelmed with all the websites that are out there. There are actually 643 million websites out there today.
643 million. Well, you know,
Active,
we're in
these
You've
are
Got to
active.
Be Kidding now. You've got to be kidding.
No, I'm not kidding.
Not kidding.
Can I ask you, while we're in You've Got to Be Kidding, because this is a fascinating topic. What is it, like we're in Massachusetts, what is it, do you have any statistics or anything in other parts of the country? Like, is it more cyberbullying going on in California than in Tennessee, or is it more in poor areas or rich areas, or knows no bounds?
As far as I know from the statistics that I've seen, it knows no bounds. And for example, we all think of the playground bully as being bigger than picking on somebody smaller, right?
Right,
That's
pick
kind
on
of our
someone
typical-
your own size.
You're
is
right.
what's
Unfortunately, for cyberbullying, there is no profile. It could be the straight-A student, or it could be the football player, or anyone in between. There's no profile. And part of the reason that is because the cyberbully hides behind the computer screen to attack their victim. And they are also disinhibited. And disinhibited means
Thank you.
means lacking inhibition. They lack restraint. They don't hold back in their attack.
Is there a way, computer expert, is there a way to get, I know you get like the IP address, which is the address of the computer. Is there a way, like these, you say they hide behind, is there a way to tell where that computer's sitting or who has it?
Well, generally speaking, if you want to find somebody by their IP address, and they've gone to some trouble to be anonymous, which is what cyberbullying is largely about. I mean, that's the whole idea. You can terrify people and make them feel helpless if you don't know who it is that's attacking you. If you want to track that back, you really have to have law enforcement involved. I mean, they need a subpoena to go and get that information. But it can be done. I mean, it's you know, if your child is at serious risk as a parent, you really do need to go to the police and say, this is what's going on, and let them take the necessary steps.
How are the police, as a rule? Are they receptive to something like that, or sometimes it might be just a case that the kid ran away, or?
You know, I think that depends on your locale.
Right.
I mean, certainly.
Our
certainly
police are great.
Yeah. And I would say the police in our town are great too. Shout out to Sudbury. No, they are great.
Yeah.
But one thing I wanted to point out too is that kids are also using sites like Ask.fm or FormSpring, and those are sites that allow for anonymous postings.
Boy.
And as a result, they become havens for cyberbullies, and it's very hard to track them down.
I haven't heard of one of these. I still know Facebook and some of those, but
Wait till I
these
tell you
others.
about some of the websites that kids are going to.
Oh yeah, we have to wind up now. I gotta say,
okay.
I like that expression you had about the helicopter, hovering helicopter. You know,
Yes.
And this is
yeah.
not. I know parenting
Right.
online.
Yeah.
You know, a diary stays in a lot of parents think, oh, they're invading their child's privacy when they, check on their child's activity. But there's nothing about the internet that's private.
Right.
That's the
Boy,
reality.
that's something.
Nothing. A personal diary stays in the bedroom. What's posted online stays in cyberspace forever.
Yep.
And every parent needs to be aware of that
Boy.
and become engaged.
Very
Well,
good.
Thank you. That's a good note to end on, and we'll probably have other questions. You'll have to come back. We'll have to go into other topics because I can see this growing and growing and growing. Now, if anybody wanted to contact you, and then you can wind up, what's your website?
It's www.screenretriever, like the dog.com.
Okay, there you go, and
All
that's,
right.
that's what we call
Good.
a good
Yeah.
rap.
So to our viewers, we hope that this was enlightening for you. If your parents or if your grandparents, it's really important to encompass not only what they're doing in the physical world, but in the cyber world as well. And if you have any questions, you can always send us an email, visit our website, or send us an email, and we make sure that it gets to Victoria and Mark. So please, let us hear from you about this or any other topic, because remember, this is your show. The law, your money, and you.